Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Midday Western U.S. Regional Forecast video brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, this is the narrative we're looking to change. We've been discussing now for a few weeks that there's this potential pattern shift for the month of March that's coming up, and we need to talk about it because much of California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, even parts of southern Colorado right now showing up with pretty substantial year-to-date precipitation deficits. And you know the narrative. We've had a high-pressure cell sitting here just almost constantly off the coast of California. The flows come in out of the northwest, targeting coastal Oregon, but really Washington, sliding into the northern Rockies, putting down some pretty good snow in some locations. But the split flow coming around the bottom side of this has really soaked this section of the U.S. So the question is, are we seeing changes in this? Because the latest drought monitor right now has expanded the area in California and Nevada that's under drought, and they've also outlined the regions in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, as well as the Four Corner states, suggesting that the drought that is in place in those areas will likely be long-lasting, which means probably through the months of spring and into early summer. So this means we have to keep a very close eye on this upcoming pattern change and what it might potentially do to these drought areas. Because looking at calculated soil moisture anomalies, we have some parts of Northern California and Central California that are looking at up to an 8-inch deficit in soil moisture. This is just topsoil moisture at this time, and that extends into Oregon as well. So checking in on our California, there's 3 regions here. This is the Northern Sierra region. First 8 stations go into this. We're currently sitting at 17.9 inches on average for those 8 stations. We should be sitting somewhere around 35. So you can see we're about half of normal on precipitation so far. Going a little bit farther south into the San Joaquin reporting stations, these 5, when averaged together, sitting at 11.7. Normally would be sitting at about 27. So again, this is a pretty substantial deficit. And down to the Tulare Basin down here farther south, we're sitting at 8.7 inches. We should be sitting right around 20. So this is just your latest update on what's going on in terms of our precipitation collection in these 3 regions in California. Now the next week isn't offering much help. So this is total accumulated precipitation through next Friday morning. And what we notice here is that much of the main target will continue to be coastal Oregon, Washington specifically, and getting up into British Columbia. Now there is an interesting situation that is developing over the beginning of next week, and there's this cutoff flow that's sneaking down and going to come in this direction before turning over toward the Baja. So the snow that you see here in the Sierra Nevada mountains here is actually going to be on the east-facing slopes, primarily on the east-facing slopes. So this is not a wind that's coming in like this. It's actually going to be coming in from this direction, adding up the snow on that side of things. And we could be picking up in there maybe over a foot of snow if things go well on some of the highest peaks. But the big thing we have to talk about is this is still a pretty substantial deficit. This is not the right flow pattern to be showing us any sort of surplus precipitation. But like I said at the beginning of this video, we have change that is coming. Now, in the near term, we're watching our high-resolution modeling here showing us what's going to be evolving throughout the day on Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday morning. So the cutoff flow is about the major feature to talk about here. So this is now Saturday morning getting into Saturday evening. Do you see it right there? As the cutoff flow comes down, do you see how the snow is actually on the east-facing slopes of the Sierra Nevada here? And it brings in some snow into parts of Idaho, Nevada, and eventually over here into the Four Corner states as we get past this. But this is what I want you to see. In the near term, the main ridge is sitting right in through here. That's why through the next week things are dry. This is the cutoff flow that, again, sneaks down like this and sets up here. But what we're going to be watching is a change in this pattern. Now, it's not happening in the near term, so let me take you all the way out to next Wednesday. But watch this. Do you see how this trough here is starting to punch into the Gulf of Alaska? That has now pushed the ridge that was in place there away, and we're going to see an extension of this trough eventually fill in this whole region. And that is the most critical change that we could see as we get out past the 7th, 8th, and 9th of March to be increasing our precipitation chances. Now, before that happens, take a look at what we're dealing with in terms of temperature anomalies. So again, these are just differences from normal. We're spending much of our time in the western United States warm. As I play this forward, we'll pause it right here and step you back just to show you those changes. So ready, this is Friday, getting into Friday afternoon and evening. This is now, we're seeing widespread 10 to 20 degrees above average across the west compared to normal here. And this is now getting into Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. Now you see the cool coming in here? That's that cutoff low I was telling you about. It comes sneaking farther to the south and cooling things down through Sunday afternoon and evening compared to what it was. But as we're going to see here, getting out into early next week, this is Monday morning, Monday afternoon and evening, getting into Tuesday, and eventually into Wednesday, we don't see any substantial major cold that's coming into the western part of the United States. Now I'm going to show you the forecast beyond this in just a few minutes, but I want to get you through those next 5 days. Now just watch this. I'm going to play it for you, and I want you to see if you can find the major difference. Okay, that's 10 days from the European model. Now watch. Over this weekend, here's Friday, getting into Saturday morning, you can see this first system coming through British Columbia, hitting Oregon and Washington, and then coming through the northwest. Now, this is the cutoff low that brings in the snow on the east-facing slope. See it there? But we still have a big area of high pressure hanging out here. As we go past this, we let that cutoff low sink, so this may bring some, this would be Sunday night and Monday morning, some light rain and some mountain snow down here in Southern California. But that little system moves through. And then later on Monday, maybe still some remnant flow coming over the northern edge of this high pressure cell, bringing in some light precip into the northwest. But I'm more interested in the bigger changes. So this is Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, and Tuesday evening. You see the same thing, right? That's the flow pattern. So we just keep going. This is going to be a pretty wet upcoming week for coastal Oregon and really coastal Washington here. But watch what happens as it gets us out past the 4th. Got a big cutoff flow that's going to hit into British Columbia. Big one there. But as you see on the 6th, getting into the 7th, and now the 8th, where is the high pressure cell? It's gone. It's way over here. And now I've changed the pressure patterns in this part of the Pacific Ocean, and this is finally what we need to see to start cranking the moisture toward California. All right, I know I'm sounding excited, but I am. This is a big pattern change. We've been trying to call for this for a while. So look at your week 2. This is now looking at the 6th through the 13th. And what do we see? We now see wet anomalies across a large section here, and we need to see what's going on in the upper levels to make that happen. That ridge slowly moving in this direction. The main cold anchor is still sitting here and here, but we're getting an extension of this trough right here down to the west of California. And what does that do? That makes the flow pattern do that. And we've been talking about this miracle March setup. And remember, if you go back to those things I kept highlighting, it says we have to have this shape in our troughs to get that precipitation to return. And sure enough, we do have that. It's not quite to the full magnitude of what we saw in 1991, but a piece of the trough sitting here, that certainly brings the flow back up, and we start to increase our precipitation chances for California. But again, we're talking about after the 6th, 7th, and 8th of the month of March. So what does it do to temperatures? Well, day 5 through 10, which gets us out to that time period, you can now see the cold extending here, right? So that gives us this kind of pattern. So that's why we don't see any major temperature differences coming. I'm not talking about any major cold. And as we even go out here to day 10 through 15, so this takes us all the way out from the 9th through the 14th. What do we see again? Our trough is going to sit over here. And while this could be bringing in some cooler weather, it's not cold. This is just increased cloud cover. This is precipitation, so we got to cool things down here. And take a look at this. This is where I'll finish this video. This is now the 10th of March through the 10th of April. And with that retreating ridge and the development of a persistent trough feature here, we still have the strong subtropical jet cutting under like that. But we see now finally wetter than normal conditions in from California all the way over to the Four Corners region. Now, why does it look cool? Well, the trough extends here. But this is not going to be a cold pattern for California, Oregon, Washington. The cool that you see in the Intermountain West, though, could be increasing our snowpack pretty substantially. But this flow pattern is doing that. And I've been so excited to get to this Friday to kind of give you this report, because we're now starting to see some of the pattern changes we've been discussing for a while showing up more robustly in the models. It's not a slam dunk yet, but this is at least the proper trend we want to see to increase precipitation in the regions that desperately need it in the Southwest. So with that, I'll wrap it up and hope that you all have a great weekend. I look forward to giving you an update on Monday, and I promise I will report if there's any change to this right away to you. Thank you so much. Talk to you again soon.